Hi, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for whoever is listening. I pray that you had a blissful day. The fact that you're here on this day and you have the breath of life, which is the breath of the Lord in your lungs and you're breathing is a blissful day for you. And I want to say God bless you and thank you for listening. And I'm going to do part 2 of the Lord's promise. And it's going to be coming from Psalms 37 verses 6 and 7, which I skipped a line on my notebook when I written it down for those 2 verses, but it goes hand in hand for me personally as I read it now. And this, verse 37, because I know I did verse 37, verses 4 and 5. This was written back last year on May 20th. But I'm going to go ahead and read Psalms 37, verse 6 and 7 before I go on and continue on to speak that encouraging word on to whomever is listening. And verse 6 of 37 says, "And he shall bring forth thy righteousness as the light, and thy judgment as the noonday." And verse 7 of Psalms 37 says, "Rest in the Lord and wait patiently for him. Fret not thyself because of him who prospereth in his way, because of the man who bringeth wicked devices to pass." And this is what, let me say this. The word patience, and it means long suffering too. One of the fruit of the spirit, as we know. And this, because we know that God, the God we serve, is a God of long suffering. Like he's patient with us, and we have to be patient when we feel or we see with our own eyes that things are not going our way. But we know that God has done things in his timing. Like things already been done in the spiritual realm. We know that. But, for it to manifest in the carnal, at times we have to be patient. And God usually tests us too sometimes to see if we're ready for the blessing or the gift that he's about to assign us. Or he sees, he take notes. I believe the Lord do take note on us to see that, okay, I want to know how patient is this, is my child. Are you going to be patient enough to wait? Yet the circumstances may be overwhelming, or things may be all over the place for you mentally, but can you have that faith? And it always it leads to faith. I mean, this life of belief is really going by faith, having faith in the love and having that trust in God. And remember, it says in Psalms 37 verses 4 through 5, and I read this in a prior podcast on part 1 of the Lord's promise, which I'm referencing Psalms 37. Is that delight, verse 4, remember what it said, "Delight thyself also in the Lord, and he shall give thee the desire of thine heart." And verse 5 said, "Commit thy way unto the Lord, trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass." Now, verse 6, this is what it says about our God. "And he shall bring forth thy righteousness as the light, and thy judgment as the noonday." Because he is the God that judges. We don't do the judging. We're not supposed to anyway. We make decision. We make plans, and we determine some of the outcome. But in the end of the day, in the end of as life goes on, it's God that has the final say. And I like when he said that he shall bring forth his righteousness as the light, and thy judgment as the noonday. And verse 7 say, "Rest in the Lord," meaning that we just have to wait. I mean, we're resting and we're waiting and we're being patient on the Lord, for him. "Fret not thyself because of him that prosper in his way, because of the man who bringeth wicked devices to pass." Like, we are not supposed to be envious of people of the world, especially those, like, say you getting a promotion. Like my coworker, I'm happy for her. She got promoted as a team lead, and I'm not jealous of that, because that's not I ain't gonna lie, that's not a position I desire. But I'm happy and I'm grateful for her to have that position, that that higher up, because she's a people person, and I'm learning to be that, like, to love people as to really love people genuinely how the Lord loves. And I'm being patient. really learning to be patient, to be honest. Like with things coming, the blessings or the assignment or the purpose, the call, it calls for you to wait because God is doing something in your waiting season. 'Cause a lot of us are in an isolation season where he has us to himself. And I'm speaking of that now because I believe with all my heart, I'm in this season of isolation where it's just me and God. Like it's hard, I ain't gonna lie, this is the hardest season for me. 'Cause I even cried last year about this season because you don't have family around, and it's this is a lonely walk. I've heard this from my pastor. When God is a lonely walk, because not everyone is meant to be in that, is meant to go along with you. But you're in this level and a person may be in that level. And there's some people that you don't mean to cut them off. I don't like using the word cut off, but God is going to cause the rift or the division between you and the individual. They may feel like you cutting them off or you're not responding to them, but that's not the case. Because I have that with my spiritual sister, one of my spiritual sisters now, but she's not living. And God is doing something in my life where I can't get drawn back to, to some mess, to her mess, to be honest. Because when God is doing something new in your life, and he's doing something for his glory, not everyone could come with you. It may be family, it may be your children, your husband, because God is doing something. And let me tell you, God is going to need your undivided attention, meaning that there's things that you're going to have to do because he's grooming you for your business. He's preparing you for your ministry. He's preparing you to be the world changer now because the time is running out. And there's there's not time to be backsliding. It's not the time to be backsliding. It's not the time to be, backbiting one another, being in an unequally yoked relationship, rather be a friendship or a relationship, whatever it is. This is not the time or season for it. And God is setting you apart to be, to be his righteous, to be his vessel. So, it says in the word, be ye holy for I am holy. He's setting you apart. And let me say this, God is setting a lot of us apart. And that's me included. Because there's something he's going to bless you with, but at the same time, you could delay your blessing too. If you're not in position to receive it, that means that you haven't done what you're supposed to do. You know that the person you're hanging around with is not the right person to be around with. You know that, okay, this is wrong, but you're doing it. Or your situation, or you may be in a relationship where, you cohabitate and you don't have no business cohabitating. Because remember, cohabitating or anything like that, especially if you're a man, I'm not talking about the same sex now. I'm talking about man and woman. You're not supposed to be cohabitating unless you guys are married. I don't know why I went this far, but glory be to God. But this is an encouraged word now where verse 6 and 7 goes hand in hand. He is going to bring his righteousness to forth as light and his judgment as a new day. But I'm saying this, don't put yourself in a situation where, where he's going to have to put you in a position where he's going to have to expose you in order to get you, bringing you back, to bring you down low in order for you to be humble. Because this season is called to be obedient. It's called to, for us to be, not just obedient, but humble. Because you have to be meek and humble in order for God to use. You have to be broken. You have to be, to the point where, Lord, I leave this in your hand. It came to a point I even leave my son to God because I can't be a parent on my own. Yes, I'm a single mother on the physical realm. Yes, in the realm of the physical realm, on the earthly realm. But I know God is helping me with my son. I give him the situation, even with my siblings. I have to live by faith, like I said before in the prior podcast. Because I have to work on my own salvation. I'm not being selfish, but I'm being realistic. I can't take in the burden of other people. And I'm hoping that you're listening to, and this is an encouraging thing to, an encouraging word. We're not meant to take people burdens. We're here for one another, yes, to help one another. But God is our burden carrier. He's our sustainer and our helper. And that's something we have to take into consideration too. And I want to say this too before I leave, that I think I had said, it was in a prior podcast, I said Psalm 54 about, creating, creating me a right spirit. When David said I was creating me a right spirit, yes, it's in Psalm 51 as well. But I remember when I quoted Psalm 51, but I said Psalm 54, when David said that I was shaped in iniquity, and in my, in my mother's womb, my mother conceived, in sin was I conceived. Oh, glory be to God. I'm still in my word, you guys. I ain't gonna lie. There's a lot of things to memorize in the word, but some more you just have to go back to your, to the hard copy book and just look it up. But yes, but I said Psalm 54, but it's really Psalm 51 when David said that I was shaped in iniquity, and in sin my mother conceived me. Because I mentioned that because of the fact that we're not perfect, but we are aiming for, that perfection. But we're always going to get it wrong, because we are a sinful creature. We are human. As long as we're here in this human body, we do fall short. But we don't let our sin or us falling short dictates our moving forward. Like David, he repented, but he kept on moving forward. He didn't go back to the sin. And I'm saying this too. I'm sorry. I'm so off track here. We're talking about that now, but it goes hand in hand. So I'm believing this goes hand in hand. But I want to say, rest in the Lord and wait patiently for Him. And do not be envious of when people are promoted because of they did it in a shameful way or in a scheming way. God is going to expose that anyways. And I believe God exposed. What is done in the dark always gets exposed to the light. And I believe that. Because there's nothing that is sitting under the sun from the eyes of our Lord. So I want to say God bless you and thank you for listening. And I'm sorry if I mumbled too much on this podcast, but I'm hoping that what I said did encourage you and inspire you. So I want to say thank you and I love you. Be blessed.